Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you guys are watching from today. I hope the day finds you well. My name is Steve Bennett, and I am thankful and humbled to take part in the Junior Achievement Career Speaking presentations. My hope is that you walk away from my presentation with some good information on maybe some non-traditional career paths, because by all means, all three of mine have not been traditional. And if you would have told me as a young adult or even an elementary school kid that I would be doing what I'm doing today, I'd probably laugh at you, and then I'd probably ask, "What are those jobs? I don't even know if they exist." So just know that there's a really good chance that by the time you get to be my age, you could be in a position or a career field that doesn't even exist today, and that is awesome. That's exciting to know that once again we're evolving, and just jobs and careers are going so many different ways that you've got opportunities in places that we didn't even know. So I'm going to share my screen with you because it's a lot cooler to see a presentation than to just listen to some old guy speak. So without further ado, let's get into the presentation a little bit, guys. So once again, my name is Steve Bennett. I am the current Director of Continuous Improvement and Transformation for Parkview Health. The first thing you should say is, what is that? And like I had already alluded to, as a kid, I would have said the same thing. I have no idea what that means. And literally, as a kid, you couldn't have told me I would be doing this thing. I probably would have just laughed at you. So it's probably worth exploring. How did I get there? So I really have three jobs and three career paths. So on the Parkview Health side, sure, I'm the Continuous Improvement Transformation Director. I had received some education to get to that point, but also I had done learning and development for the better half of 17 years now, both for the military, but then also were some professional companies like Lincoln Financial and Medical Protective Group, or MedPro Group, here in Fort Wayne. So those really set me up for success. That, along with my actual school from Indiana University and California Coast University, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But really, I've been doing this performance improvement piece for going on 16, 17 years now. And it's just culminated into the role that I have at Parkview Health. So I'll move over to the middle column. We'll talk about the military a little bit. So yeah, I'm totally a military guy. I'm actually the current intelligence commander for the 122nd Fighter Wing. And same thing, if you would have told me in middle school and high school that I would join the military, I would have told you you were definitely crazy. No one in my family is in the military. I don't really have a military background from aunts, uncles, anything of that nature. But really, when I looked at the benefits and kind of the intrinsic motivation piece that I needed to fulfill myself, the military was it. So I joined the Navy actually in 2004. I served 8.5, 9 years of active duty. And then when I moved back to Fort Wayne with my family, I just kind of fell into the 122nd Fighter Wing. So I'm a reserve commander that I work 1 week in a month. I do 2 active weeks a year, leading that organization. And then last but not least, that third column, I work for the Association of Talent Development as a facilitation director. So that basically means I do online and face-to-face facilitation on a lot of topics. Right now, a lot of the hot button topics are, how do we keep our adult learners engaged while everybody's either working from home, or once again, people are learning in different modes and modalities. Even this right here, this online education piece is more difficult. So how do we do that? So I'm an online and face-to-face facilitator for ATD. And going back to my original comments, if you would have told me when I was 13-year-old Steve Bennett that I would be doing continuous improvement, military, and then also facilitating, I probably would have told you you're crazy. So there's no limit to where you can go in this world if you just keep yourself open to options. So let's talk a little bit about the Parkview Health job, the Continuous Improvement and Transformation Director. So a typical day for me consists of, I would say, about 2/3 of my day having meetings. They all center around process improvement in some form or fashion. But really, it's all pushing towards leading a team of process improvement specialists to figure out how to improve things within our organization. So I keep saying that word, process improvement, or even the continuous transformation and improvement. So basically, that just means taking a look at some data and then also looking at whatever the current process is and then trying to make it better. So, to use an example, if you could think of McDonald's, everybody likes McDonald's, right? But people don't go to McDonald's because they have the best hamburger in the world. They go to McDonald's because they can get a hamburger in the drive-through really quickly. And, that didn't used to be the case. All the way back into the 1940s and 1950s, food was sit down, you order, and you wait. Well, McDonald's was one of the first organizations to look at that and say, what if we changed how we set up a kitchen? And then look what we have today. We've got fast food restaurants everywhere. We figured out how to make different types of food quicker. That's process improvement. So what my team does is that they look at some hospital or healthcare data piece, and whatever the current process is, we have some certain tools that we use to show that, hey, maybe we could improve this somehow. When the decision is made by the stakeholder or by the organization that actually supports that initiative, that leader says, yes, this is the thing we're going to do. Well, then we help them educate. We actually go to their organization, we educate their team, we work with them to provide education across all of Parkview to say, here's what this new thing is. And then we try it. So that gear mechanism over there on the right, the process improvement piece, that's exactly what it is. We try it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, we just go right back to the beginning where we over-analyze whatever that piece was, and then we start all over again. So that's what process improvement is at Parkview Health. On the military side, I work 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, basically leading an organization of intelligence analysts. So I'm basically responsible for the performance reports and all the education of my team in that purview. So then how did I get there? So as a kid and even a middle schooler and high schooler, once again, I didn't see any of these positions in my future. So first and foremost, it's important to know that I was a baseball player. That was my goal in life, really from 10 years old to 22. I just wanted to play baseball. I was pretty good at it. I ended up going to college and playing baseball. But really, every step of the way in my sports career, I was always I was always the captain. I was always one of the leaders on the team. And I knew I liked that, but I didn't know that I would actually end up using that in my job, like as a professional adult. So that's something that has helped kind of groom me and put me where I'm at. As far as my early jobs, I started off when I was 10 with a paper route. And I know I don't even think those exist anymore, but I used to deliver newspapers at 5 in the morning to city entities downtown. And man, I hated it. Waking up at 5 in the morning and trying to, once again, fold and roll all the papers, put rubber bands on them. But then I would get my monthly check. And even as a 10-year-old, I knew that, $20, I could go down to the store and buy candy and hang out with my friends, buy baseball cards. That was really kind of the first time I thought, well, this isn't that bad. So fast forward, when I was 13, my first real job was as a bus boy, and then I worked my way up to being a waiter for Halls. I worked at a downtown Halls. I really learned how to transfer a lot of those skills into what I do today, but really it set me up for that process improvement job. Because as a waiter, if you're managing 10 tables, I've got to think about the most efficient way to do my work. I've got to get drinks to this table. I've got to take an order at this table. I know on my way back that I've got to pick up dishes from this table, and then this table over here just got sat down. Well, how do I do that? Well, in your head, you really quickly have to multitask and figure that out. So those are skills I still use today. After being a waiter, I moved on, worked at a car wash when I could actually start driving. And I think that job gave me a lot of good insight to customer service. It was a full service car wash. So we would wash the car, we would dry the car, we would do any sort of wax or internal stuff that the customer wanted. And you really worked on a one-on-one basis with the customer. It gave you some really good insight on how to do that well. And then my last job that I had in high school was working for Gordon's Food Service, just stocking shelves, stocking the fridge, the freezer, running the cash register, pretty much anything they needed me to do. And that really gave me a little bit of business acumen. Just looking at the end of an aisle in a store. So if you go to Walmart, that marketing piece, how do we decide what to sell to customers? the price points of those items, those things started to interest me even in high school. So uh, I kind of had that good foundation of customer service and business acumen even before I went to college. So then you can see all the way over to the right, I went to Indiana University. Woohoo! IU. So yeah, I attended Indiana University both in Bloomington and Fort Wayne, and I was really concerned about baseball. That was my thing, and school really was secondary. Well, it was after about my first year where I decided, I really need to start getting into this, taking it a little bit more seriously, really picking a major. And I took a couple courses that were just electives, but one of them really piqued my interest, and it was a criminology class. So the thinking and reasoning why people commit crime. And then really that led over into criminal justice. So my undergrad was criminology and criminal justice, and I loved it. I thought it was great. But when it came time to graduate, I didn't want to stay around Fort Wayne. I wanted to get out. I wanted to go see the world, change things, do something on a bigger scale. So that's when I joined the Navy. I joined the Navy in 2004. And once again, I was looking at maybe being something in the FBI, CIA, doing something on that national scale. And just kind of as you grow and you end up having a family, I realized that that might not be the best option for my family. I was already away quite a bit in the Navy with my deployments and everything of that nature that I didn't really want to do the same for my civilian job. So fast forward to a couple years later, I attended California Coast University and I actually got 2 graduate degrees. My first one was clinical psychology. So I have my master's of science in clinical psychology because that kind of aligned with the criminal justice thing, the thinking and reasoning behind why people do things that they do. That interests me. And then as I was transitioning out of the Navy, I actually got my MBA, my Master's Business Association. My Master's of Business Administration with a focus on management. And the only reason I got that was one, the business part interests me a bit, but then 2, I wanted to make myself more marketable for positions back home in Fort Wayne. So I guess technically I've got 3 degrees. I've got 1 bachelor's, 2 masters. So that's how I got to my position today, really in a ransackled sort of way. But the thing I'll point out is on the military side, not enough of our young men and women actually look at the military as an option, and 100% that set me up for success. Not only did I get my schooling through the military, they paid for all my schooling. They ended up paying for my degree at Indiana University. So I came out with very little debt. I've got to travel the world. I've been to at least 80 countries. And it's just something that I would never, ever trade in. But if you would tell me when I was in elementary school that that was going to be something that I would do, I would have told you no. I didn't even think the military was a career option. So you can definitely start there. And if you have questions with that, there's always recruiters. Your career counselors can help with that. But that's really what set me on my path to where I am today. So a couple other questions I know that are out there. So, one, what did I learn from my first job and how did that help me today? I kind of already mentioned it, but the multitasking aspect of being a waiter, customer service, we always say the customer's always right. But at the same time, if you provide good customer service, we never even have to have that conversation. So customer service was one of the bigger things that I learned while being a waiter. I kind of talked about my education a little bit, and I'll say that there was a few jobs that I got kind of in middle management that the only reason I got it was because I had I had an MBA. I had my master's in management. So if I didn't have that, I don't think that I would have worked at an engineering and manufacturing company because there's nothing in my background that was engineering or manufacturing. But then if I look at a position that I had there, that was one of the first iterations I had into that process and improvement piece. So my education certainly helped me get to where I'm at today. Without that, I don't think I wouldn't be in such a successful position. So what advice would I give my younger self? That is a really good one because as I've already mentioned, I think my younger self might have even laughed at my older self, especially since I used to have hair when I was a kid. I had a lot of hair. But no, seriously, I think I would say that experience matters. So I know I just said school was such a good and important thing, and it is. It once again will help you get to places that you didn't know were there. But experience matters too. I didn't do any internships. I didn't do any sort of career days or anything like that when I was in middle school and high school. And looking back at it, and even now in today's world, experience matters. So just because you don't have the degree also doesn't mean that you can't do the job. So doing internships, attending those career fairs, putting yourself in positions to get jobs, anything that you can to learn is going to help you in your professional career. Places that people don't think about, church, volunteering, even though those aren't paid positions, you still get experience working in those. So I highly recommend that. The more that you can work and show that you can do a job, once again, a lot of employers now are looking at, can you do the job, not necessarily do you have the education. And I guess really the best follow up to all this is what resources are out there if you need any. I would tell you from my experience, my career counselor was the best starting point. So by the time I got to high school, our counselor was the one who kind of helped you navigate your career field. You take your career assessments. But really, he was the one who led me down a collegiate path anyway. I knew I wanted to go to college, like I said, to play baseball, but I didn't know on the scholastic side what I wanted to do. So I was able to take college courses my senior year and actually do half days of high school because I could take communication and I took an intro to psychology class. And they helped me both get my high school education knocked out and college. I didn't know that was an option. I had no idea programs like that existed. If it wasn't for my career counselor, I would have explored that. And then I'll also say there's local organizations that have internships and career days and things that you can look at as you get older. But Parkview Health is a big one. Obviously, they're the largest employer here in Northern Indiana. Fort Wayne Metals, a lot of those organizations have things that they do in the community where you can just ask questions. You can just show up and say, hey, what does a nurse do? What does a doctor do? What does a line foreman do? And those are things that help pique your interest. And then also I would say your teachers. I mean, your teachers have got to be that number one conduit to ask those questions to. And if you have a curious mind, your teachers will hopefully want to foster that and push you to an area where maybe you can use that. So I highly encourage questions for your whole life, for anything you do. Never be afraid to ask. Ask why. Why do things work the way they work? Why do you do the things you do? And that's really going to open up doors for you that maybe you didn't know existed. So I think that's it. Once again, guys, thank you for having me. My name is Steve Bennett, the Continuous Improvement and Transformation Director / military guy / ATD guy for Junior Achievement. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. And I look forward and wish you as much success on your learning journeys as possible. Thank you.